living. I'm very grateful that all of you are here. I know that it was a little bit of a challenge this morning to get in here. A lot of different things going on. We have the marathon, and we are celebrating this morning our 9th anniversary. So, yeah, 9 years. Yeah. So I'm just very, very grateful to each and every one of you for being here this morning and celebrating with us. And I know that more people are on their way, but you know, it takes a little bit more time. I've been here since 7 o'clock this morning. And I just want to say thank you to so many people who have made this center possible. And I'll say more about that as the lesson goes on. But at this time, we're going to have our spiritual mind treatment like we always do. So please help me welcome Fanny Mumlin. She's going to do our treatment for us. Fanny?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's take a deep breath and go within and recognize that the power and the presence of God is within each one of us. Recognizing our oneness with God, we move forward this day towards a life that is joyous, happy, healthy, and prosperous. And as we move forward, we let go of doubt and fear and anxiety and know that we are one with God, one with the power and the presence that moves all things forward with ease and with joy. Recognizing our oneness, we step out in confidence that whatever we desire that is good for ourselves and good for others will come forth easily, effortlessly. For the power and the presence of God is always saying, yes, yes, you may. Yes, I'm here to support and guide and direct and support you in all that you do. We know this, we accept this. Being one with God, we move forward this day being thankful for the day, thankful for friends and relatives, and thankful for great health and well-being. For we are all supported by this power, this presence, and this intelligence that guides, directs, supports, and maintains each one of us. And as we move forward, we pray for the continuation of the power and the presence of God to bring people of all races and ethnics and whatever differences that we may have. We see the Christ in each one. We see the power and the presence of God expressing in all humanity. For we are all one in the sight of God, for there is no difference. For spirit only deals with spirit. And only spirit is important. And we cling steadfastly to this idea that we are one with God. And as we move forward this day and throughout the year, we remember that there is a powerful good in the universe, and we can use that power for good. With praise and gratitude for the love of God, for the divine guidance of the Holy Spirit of God, I release this treatment into the law of mind and action, where it's accepted and acted upon at once, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Fanny. Thank you for that very powerful treatment. That was wonderful, and it will set the tone this morning for our wonderful lesson. And now please help me welcome Emily Howard. She is our licensed practitioner, and she's going to do our reading this morning. Emily?
I'm going to be reading a selection from Ernest Holmes' Prayer, How to Pray Effectively from the Science of Mind. This is the whole prayer section from the big book, but it's in a much easier format to carry around. And the selection is called, Prayer is Essential to Happiness. Prayer is not an act of overcoming God's reluctance, but should be an act of acceptance of his highest willingness. Through prayer, we recognize a spiritual law that has always existed and put ourselves in alignment with it. The law of electricity might have been used by Moses had he understood this law. Emerson said, "Is not prayer a study of truth, a sally of the soul into the unfound infinite?" Prayer is constructive because it enables us to establish closer contact with the fountain of wisdom, and we are less likely to be influenced by appearances around us to judge according to appearance. Righteous prayer sets the law of the spirit of life in motion for us. Prayer is essential, not to the salvation of the soul, for the soul is never lost, but to the conscious well-being of the soul that does not understand itself. There is a vitality in our communion with the infinite, which is productive of the highest good. As fire warms the body and food strengthens us, as sunshine raises our spirits, so there is a subtle transfusion of some invisible force in such communication, weaving itself into the very warp and woof of our own mentalities. This conscious commingling of our thought with spirit is essential to the well-being of every part of us. Prayer has stimulated countless millions of people to higher thoughts and nobler deeds. That which tends to connect our minds with the universal mind lets in a flood of its consciousness. If we think of God as a heavenly dictator, something apart from us, which lives and moves and has its being where we are, then we are certain to believe ourselves disconnected from this infinite presence. And the inevitable consequence of such thinking would be a terrible fear that we should never be able to make contact with him. But if we know God as an indwelling presence, our prayer is naturally addressed to this presence in us. We long for and need a conscious union with the infinite. This is as necessary to the nature and intellect of man as food is to the well-being of the physical body. Thank you.
Wonderful reading. I really enjoy that. Effective prayer. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Emily. And now we have our announcements. So today we have a class at 12:30, Self-Mastery, that continues for everyone. We are using the book by Hal Elrod called Your Miracle Morning, which is really wonderful. We also have our Wednesday nights. They continue. Barbara Blake is doing something. There's a flyer on the back table, and it's called Get Your Shift Together. And she's going from the limited to the prosperous. Infinite possibilities. So if you would like to partake in that, that will be this coming Wednesday night. There's a flyer with all the information, and you can pick up that flyer on the back table. And that should be wonderful. Barbara will be doing this coming Wednesday night. So please make sure that if you can, you will get there. Okay. And that's basically it for our announcements, other than we are celebrating our 9th year. And the lesson today I'm going to shorten a little bit and then ask for some audience participation toward the end of the lesson for positive things about demonstrations or things that you'd like to share. As a community, things that you have experienced, perhaps maybe a blessing or a demonstration. So just think about that, and then maybe you can share something toward the end of the lesson. We appreciate that. And now we have our wonderful guest artists who are going to share their blessings and their magic with us. So please help me welcome the Levins.
So glad so many of you made it to the barricade.
Something planned. We're gonna. So that last talk was just so inspiring.
It's one thing Science of Mind has taught us is that you have to be ready to shift in a moment.
Yes.
As a God of
but every child knows God. Not as someone you can see, the God who only knows forward. Come dance with me, come dance with me, come dance, come dance, come dance. Come dance with me, come dance with me, come dance, come dance, come dance with me. Oh, come dance with me.
Beautiful music, beautiful people, beautiful music. Thank you so much. That was really wonderful. So we get an hour extra sleep, right? Everybody get an extra hour today? I was here at 7 o'clock this morning. I was here because I was a little nervous about getting in here, and I was very fortunate to get in. And I'm very grateful that all of you are here with us this morning. I really am. And welcome back to Yoichi. He was in Japan. Welcome back, Yoichi. This morning, I am going to give a little bit of a shorter lesson, and then I'm going to invite all of you, because we also have group treatment today. So at the end of the lesson, we'll have some music, and then we'll have our group treatment, and then we're going to be doing the lesson at about 12:30. So having said all of that, I want to start out this morning with the lesson that I'm speaking about. It's called The Gift of Prayer. And I really love the idea of prayer, and I love what Emily said this morning and the beautiful prayer that we received from Fanny Munlin. The treatment that she did was very powerful. In this teaching, our methodology is all about prayer. Really, that's what really differentiates us from a lot of the other New Thought teaching, was the method that Dr. Ernest Holmes gave to us, the methodology for prayer. So that's really what differentiates us from a lot of these other teachings. We have beautiful teachings around us in New Thought, but religious science has a methodology. We have spiritual mind treatment, which is our form of prayer. And I know a lot about prayer. I've been doing it for many, many years. I wrote a little book about it, and it's really very, very powerful. We are using it in the class that I'm teaching on self-mastery, but I like something that Emily said this morning, effective prayer. Everyone wants their prayer to be effective. And so I started to prepare this lesson, and I was looking at a lot of things, and then I came in this morning and I started reading things and looking at things, so the whole lesson shifted. And it shifted from the idea that I had about knowing how to pray, going through all of the steps in prayer treatment, which most of you know already. And if you don't know, that's okay. But there's something that I want to teach you this morning about prayer, because it occurred to me this week, and it's really become something that has really resonated within me in my consciousness. And that is that when we pray for something, we are praying and we are either coming from love or fear. You know, the Course of Miracles, which Marianne Williamson ascribes to and many other teachers do, but it's what we practice. And one of the things that I am learning about prayer is that when we are praying for something, whatever it may be, if we are praying from fear, from the idea of fear, and I'll give you some examples of that as I go along. So let's say that you have a health challenge. So many people can identify with that, yes? People who have had some kind of health challenge in their life, whether it be a cold or some form of congestion, or maybe it's a form of a fever, anything at all like that. I don't know about you, but I know for myself that the first thing that I do sometimes is I get mad. Anybody else do that? Get angry about it, or just me? You get angry. Why is this happening? Why am I having this challenge right now? And one of the things that I'm learning this week as I'm preparing this lesson is that I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to that anger or that fear. I want to begin to be able to pray from the power of love. That's the Course of Miracles. Course of Miracles says there's only two emotions. Now, some people may think, well, this is religious science, Loretta. Why are you telling us about the Course of Miracles? Because everything has an effect on everything else. The Course of Miracles is a very powerful teaching and practice. And what I glean from it and what I get from it, which really speaks to our teaching, is the idea, are you coming from love or are you coming from fear? So that's what I'm going to talk to you today about, the way that you are praying. You see, we have this knee-jerk kind of reaction to life sometimes. So I took the area of health. So you're going to get mad at yourself because you have a cold or because something happened to you. And what's going to happen is you have that fear-based kind of prayer. You're coming from anger rather than coming from a peacefulness or a feeling of love. You see? There's a big difference there. Let's go to the area of money. I think I hit a sore point for some people in the audience. Some of you love money and money flows to you easily and effortlessly. Louise Hay used to say, money is the easiest thing to demonstrate in the world. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, right. See? That's what she said. And I was one of those people that said, yeah, right. Because we have so many issues about money. So when you're praying for money, what is coming up for you? If you are comfortable with money, love comes up for you because you know that you're always demonstrating it. So you have this spiritual idea of love that comes through your prayer and flows within you and allows you to attract that love into your life. You see? So it is the idea of love when you pray. Are you praying from the idea of love or are you praying from the idea of fear? Relationship, this is another one, right? We are in relationship with people all of the time, and we have challenges sometimes. And when we have that challenge, are we coming from love or are we coming from fear? Fear-based prayer does not work. If you are in fear about something and you're holding on to the idea that there's not enough money for me, somehow, somewhere, I cannot make enough money. I have a very dear friend who's a minister, no names, of course. She always tells me she can't afford this, she can't afford that, I spoke to her yesterday. Can't afford this, can't afford that. It's the same thing all of the time. That is fear-based work. We have to get our consciousness out of the fear. It's the same thing with your body and your health state. We have to get ourselves out of the way we are treating our bodies. You see? We have to begin to love our bodies, regardless of what society may say. Loving your body, loving the work that you are doing, loving what you are doing in life, your self-expression. Those areas of life are so important. And when you pray for something, you would like to bring it to you. Yes? Yes. So you want to say yes to life. You want to say yes to your prayer. You want your prayer to become a gift. A prayer is always a gift. So every morning now, I've been working with this self-mastery class, and some people have a lot of resistance. It's very clear. You get your resistance, you don't want to do it anymore. You get to 2 weeks, it's called the beginner's mind, for those of you who have studied this stuff. The beginner's mind is very excited. Wow, this is happening, it's so good, I love it. And then what happens? We begin to say, I don't feel like this, I'm tired, I've had enough. Yes? Right? Some of you are identifying with that already. What we need to do is to begin to tell ourselves that I am always making progress. I am always making progress no matter what's going on. That is really your intention. You are always making progress. You begin to tell yourself that on a daily basis, regardless of whether you see it or not. Because in the beginning, we see it. In the beginning, it's something new. But every day is a new day for you to practice something good in your life. To wake yourself up in a new way. To wake yourself up to the idea that you are blessed and that you can create something good in your world. You remember something, the words progress, not perfection. You see? There's always progress happening in my life, and I know that. Every day I ask for and receive divine guidance. Let's say that together. I ask for and receive divine guidance. That's not the only thing that you want to receive on a daily basis. How about answered prayers? How about that your prayers are gifts for you and that you are blessed by them each and every day? That you are treating yourself in a new way. You are treating your consciousness in a new way. You are blessing your body and loving yourself more and more every day. And yes, we get these days where sometimes things aren't going right, but that doesn't mean that we stop our practice. If you do one thing within your practice, whether it be meditating or praying, whatever that is for you, you bring that into your day, and then as you look back and you see yourself from last year to this year, you see all of the good changes that you're making. So every area of your life, you see, I started thinking about this for myself personally, and I always have this challenge with weight. Anybody else can identify with that? A few of you. So I always say to myself, you know what, I'm at an age now where, you know what, it's not easy to lose weight. And then I caught myself and I said, that's a belief system that I am plugged into. You have to find out for yourself what you are plugged into, and then you can unplug yourself. So I had to let go of that as an idea for myself, and I'm sharing this with you this morning, and I had to begin to step back and say, wait a minute, I can remove this weight, and I choose to, and I will. You have to be willing to look at yourself honestly and say, what is it that I want to be different in my life? And then you have to be for that. And when you're for that, you're letting go of the fear. If you get up every day and say, oh, another boring, rotten day. Anybody do that in here? I hope not. You do. Okay. Occasionally is okay, but not every day. You don't want to do that every day. You want to always give yourself good thoughts, good thinking thoughts that will bless you, uplift you, and inspire you, and encourage you. I heard something very good this week about a teacher. They said, in this book I was reading, a good teacher will always empower someone. They will never disempower someone. Isn't that so true? Because I don't know about you, I had some wonderful teachers in my life, incredible. And then I had a few of them that were disempowering. But I learned something from them. I learned what not to do, you see? You have to learn whatever it is that you are plugged into, Whatever that idea that you are holding on to, for me, it is this thing about it's hard for me to lose weight. You have to check out, what are you telling yourself about your situation? And there's not a person in here that doesn't have a situation. Not one person in the room that doesn't. We all have situations, okay? But the situation can either bless you and you can change it, or you can hold on to it and you can be fearful about it and you can get angry. I said in the beginning of this lesson, the first thing that happens with most of us, not all of us, but most of us, when something happens that is not in our favor, the first thing we do is we get angry at it. We get angry at the person, and we begin this whole chain of events that takes us down the wrong road. What if we could change that? What if we could say, instead, I am choosing to say this to myself instead of that? What if now I can say to myself, you know what, Loretta, I am going to treat my body with respect and care and love. And I am going to let go of the idea that I can't do something. Because that's what I'm telling myself. I'm plugged into race consciousness. All of us are. But the good news is you can pull the plug. I'm using that as an analogy. You can pull the plug. Maybe for you it's about your business or your work. Pull the plug. You see? You don't want to buy into what you're being told about things. You want to get a new idea, and you want to come from love when you pray, not from fear. Because when you love spirit, when you love your higher power, when you love yourself, you are bringing so much more joy into your life. I see the difference right now in my self-expression because I am praying for that, you see? I am praying for myself to have greater clarity and greater self-expression, and it's happening in more and more avenues of my life. I'm aware of that, and I feel very blessed by it. What are you praying for every day? You don't have to be in the class. If you're not in the class, you need to pray for yourself every day. You don't have to be in a class. You know, I've always thought of myself as someone who has learned a lot and worked very hard, but I can remember for many, many years when I would just sit and listen to all the information, but I didn't do anything with it. It's what you do with it. I say this over and over again. What are you doing with your prayers? Next week, I'm going to talk to you about not only the art of prayer, but the action of prayer, because they really are two parts of the same thing. There's an art to prayer, and there's an action for prayer. Taking action every day, even when you don't want to. And you think, why bother? Why bother? Well, because you are worthy. And if you do one little thing, if you say a prayer, even though you don't feel like it, you are contributing to the goodness, the wholeness, the peace, the power, the prosperity of your life. Maybe you want to pray to let go of your resistance. Maybe that's something that you need to look at. What am I resisting? Why am I not willing to do this? Why am I willing to complain about it? You see? Or maybe you're attached to what's going on out there. I'm a little bit attached to it now. It's a little interesting. But I have to work on letting it go, letting it all go into the nothingness from whence it came. And I'm learning something, too, about the things that I'm saying to myself on a daily basis. That's becoming more clear to me in my consciousness because I'm praying for clarity, you see? I'm praying for greater self-expression. What are you praying for? If prayer is a gift, you have to be the receiver of the gift. When you first go to anger or blame, you're coming from fear. We all do it. It's part of the human process. It's not to shame you or make you feel guilty. That's not the reason for this. The reason is awareness. You see, it's awareness. Emily's reading this morning was very beautiful about effective prayer. I remember something so well that Ernest Holmes said. He said, the person that kneels down and is afraid of a suffering and thinks that God is going to make us suffer is not as well off as the person who goes to the ocean and welcomes the ocean and looks at the ocean and the stars and nature and blesses it and feels blessed by it. What he's saying to us is let go of the old ideas. And those old ideas come to us out of fear. Those old ideas are always resonating with us. If you would like to demonstrate something, don't tell yourself you can't have it. You know, I've been doing that a little bit with my challenge with weight. I've been telling myself that I really, it's hard. And other people will reinforce that. You ever go to somebody and say, it's really hard to lose weight? They'll say, oh yes, it's so hard to lose weight. You see, so you go back and forth with that. So I have to get a new idea about that. You see? Practicing. I said last week or a couple weeks ago, a baseball player gets up like Derek Jeter. He doesn't start hitting home runs because he sat home and watched TV all day. He practiced. You have to practice the presence in everything that you are desiring to have in your life. You have to practice. Yes, you get tired, but it's also commitment. Being committed to your prayer every day. And sometimes when things get too good, we stop ourselves, don't we? Yes, we do. We all do that. And then we have to just keep on going again and again and again, because that's really what we have in life. Ours is a life that just picks us up, dusts us off, and starts all over again. Ours is a life of prayer. And I am so grateful for this community, because 9 years ago, as I said to so many of you, we started in the map room, which is a little tiny room in the back. And then we went to the middle, and now we're here. And it was all through prayer, and it was all through what we were thinking about, we were bringing about, the good things. And people would call me up and they'd say, you know, Reverend Loretta, I wish we had more people in here. We don't have enough people. And I'd say, don't think like that and don't talk like that. Just keep seeing and knowing that a lot of people are always coming to this community, because we give good things here. We have wonderful, wonderful refreshments thanks to Barbara Munlin. And we should really... And we have wonderful practitioners here like Fanny Munlin and Emily and Barbara Blake and who else? Gary McMillan. All of them I want to. Court, you can't forget Court. Court helps us with so many things. And of course, I would be remiss without mentioning someone who is, without him, I don't know what we would do, and that's Rick. So I'm very, very grateful to each and every one of you for all that you give to us as well as we give to you. And I know that we will continue to just create all kinds of wonderful things, wonderful avenues for expression, for all kinds of things to improve in every area of our lives, right? Every day we are always improving ourselves. Don't get mad at yourself. That's the message today. Do not get mad at yourself. You know what? Sometimes it's a little easier to get mad at somebody else, right? Yes, it is. We can all get mad at other people, but work really hard on not getting mad at yourself. If something happens in your life, remember something. Stop yourself, and are you going to go to love or are you going to go to fear? Because you can choose peace in the moment. You can say, okay. There's a wonderful passage in the book by Hal Elrod, who wrote The Miracle Morning, which I highly recommend. He said something very interesting. He said, when something happens to you, give yourself 5 minutes. It's called the 5-minute rule, and he talks about it in the book. Give yourself 5 minutes to really get angry, to really beat yourself up, to really do a little number, and then come out of it. And he said, sure, it takes practice. It takes time. But keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. And before you know it, it will become your 5-minute rule. You will not spend 2 hours, 2 days, 3 days. Some people spend months on stuff. You know people like that? They're still talking about things that happened 25 years ago. I know people like that, yes. They're telling you about what happened, and oh my God, this happened to me 25 years ago. I'll never get over it. And you know what? They're right. They never will. We have to get a new idea. You have to let go of that plug. You have to pull the plug. And I have to pull the plug. I'm with you. I'm with you today. I have to pull the plug. I have to give myself new ideas about removing the weight. I have to let go and allow spirit. You see, that's the thing about surrender. When you surrender, when you really truly let go, you allow that divine guidance to come in. You allow that spiritual serenity to bless you. When you meditate every day, now I meditate every single day. Meditation is a gift. Prayer is a gift. Prayer is such a gift for each and every one of us. Every morning, do your prayer work. Every morning, meditate. Do some kind of spiritual practice. Even if it's a walking on your way to work or wherever you're going, say a prayer. I prayed this morning for the city of New York. I did a special prayer and blessing for the city of New York, that we would all be safe, that everything would go along very well. I would not have thought of that 10 years ago. I wouldn't have thought of that. But now I think about things in a new way. I think about, how can I bless someone today? How can I be in service to someone? You see, that's really the key. The key is really knowing that you are part of a greater thing. And that greater thing is always working. It's always operating upon your consciousness for good and yet greater good. And when you come from love, you are expressing that love in every area of your life. And when you come from fear, that's what you're getting more of, you see? That's what you're getting more of. So you need to let go of that fear and allow the love to grow within you. I'd like to kind of let this lesson be a little bit earlier this morning. I'd like to close with a spiritual mind treatment and then ask everyone in the audience to participate a little bit with positive kinds of things. Mike Dooley said something once. I went to a workshop with him and he said, if you're going to tell me about all of your stories, I don't want to hear them. So that's what I'm saying today. I would rather that you tell me something good about something you've experienced for yourself, and I'm going to close with a spiritual mind treatment with everyone. And then we will not have our sharing after today. We'll just have some more music, our collection, and then we'll go to our group treatment and our lesson, okay? And there's lots of food back there, plenty of food. So let me do a spiritual mind treatment for everyone, because this is prayer. This is prayer. So this is how we pray, and each and every morning I am praying for each and every one of you that you create a spiritual practice. And I am knowing, understanding, and completely accepting that with God, all things are possible. And I am knowing that out of this possibility, out of this life of God, out of this mind of God, each and every person, individually in this room and collectively in this New York Community Center for Spiritual Living, all of us are moving forward. All of us are getting greater clarity, a greater ability to perceive life in a new way, to move out into a new direction, to be joyous and free, to have the freedom of expression, to have greater clarity, greater peace of mind. Any appearances of so-called fear, anger, or anguish is completely neutralized and dissolved. Each person in this room has a spiritual practice, whether it be prayer, meditation, or affirmation. Each and every one receives a personal blessing from this word today. From all of us, we are all so richly blessed and so thankful for all the work that Spirit is doing in our lives. I say thank you, God, for blessing us. Thank you, God, for blessing this community. I am so grateful. And so with gratitude and love for the wonderful way that Spirit is at work in each and every one of our lives, I simply say thank you. Thank you for all of the years, for all of us being together, and thank you for our future, which is blessed as Spirit goes before us, each and every one of us, to make the crooked places straight. And so with love and gratitude for the wonderful way that this community continues to be all that it is and more, I simply say thank you, releasing the word into law, knowing it is done. So be it, and together we say, and so it is. And that is the way it is. Thank you. And now I'd like to ask some of you if you'd like to share some things, because we have some time left. And anybody like to share? Barbara?
Power of God. out that we're doing a campaign this month for our next album, which is going to be called Caravan of Dawn. And we do have some cards here in the back. We're having a campaign this month, so if you wanted to join that or pre-order, and we welcome you to join us because it's going to be fabulous.
Okay, so just remember that we have our group treatment. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and our class continues. And there's so many goodies. Please enjoy, and have a wonderful, blessed week, everyone. All the best.